So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how do you fulfill your true potential, or how do you fulfill your limitless potential. And this is something that I discovered when I was sitting with my friends on a rooftop when I was 17, 18 years old, and I was having a bunch of drinks with them, and I was in a very bad neighborhood, and the whole terrace was full of garbage, and we were sitting in the middle of all of this having a drink. And I had no money. I had never made money by that time, and my mother was working full time to provide for us, and here I was sitting on the terrace having drinks with my friends. And suddenly I was reminded of the time when I was in Dubai when I was 14. So 3 years ago when I was in Dubai, and then after that I went to France, and these were little trips that my mother took me because her company was paying for it. And those types of trips really transformed something in me, and I saw the vision of what life could be and what is possible. So while I was sitting in this dump having a drink with my buddies, so to speak, I asked myself, when is all of that going to happen? When are the Ferraris going to come? When is the travel going to come? Where are the beautiful women? Where is all the success? Where is all the fame? Where is everything that I ever dreamed of? My face was full of acne. I was in an unhealthy condition, even at that age. You are 17, your body is still in a good shape, and my face looked like, it was so bad. I had so much acne because I had put so much toxins in my body. And I had friends that were really undesirable people that I didn't want to really be around, but I was there because I didn't have any money, and I had to live with my mother, and those were the type of people in my neighborhood. And this is the time where a lot of frustration was starting to build up, and probably that's the reason I was drinking. And what started to happen was I started to ask myself that if I don't do something right now, things are not going to get any better, and it's just going to go into a downward spiral. But I had no way of getting out of the situation, and I started reading this book called The Secret. And in this book, I started to do some exercises, and the exercises talked about how do you actually get everything you want. And the first step to getting everything you want, and the first step of becoming everything you desire to be, is you want to write them down and you want to visualize them, right? And I started to write them down. I started to make a list of all the things I wanted, the clothes I wanted to wear, and I actually wrote down that I want to wear a couple of $1,000 worth of suits. I wanted to date beautiful women from Europe. I wrote down every single country and city I wanted to travel, and the type of money that I wanted to make, and all of those things. And at the beginning, nothing happened, and I started to share these things with my friends, and they quickly suppressed me and said that I was living in a delusional reality that I had created for myself, and none of this was going to happen, and none of this was actually real or even possible. In fact, I should just focus on getting a job, getting a college degree, and then looking to get married and then settling down. And if I did that, then that would be a success. And if I can get a nice a Toyota, then it would be good enough for me. And that was the standard that was imposed upon me by my environment. And generally speaking, because we are in this environment, and I would often notice that whenever I would get into this environment, I would just get into this conflicting dynamic with people around me, and arguments that, your head is in the clouds, you're delusional, you're stupid, this, that. And people started to call me names, and my relationship with them started to get affected. And I never understood until now why those things were happening. Is because somewhere we all are suppressing ourselves. Somewhere they were suppressing themselves and I was suppressing myself. And when I wanted to get out of that place, everybody started to kind of drag me down and put more and more doubts in my mind. So one of the barriers to unleashing your potential is going to be fear and doubt, fear and self-doubt. And the source from which this comes from, this stems from, is not inside you. You know, people think self-doubt comes from within. No, self-doubt is imposed upon us by other people. And fear is actually imposed upon us by other people. And standards of success is also imposed upon us by other people. You know, and our standards of everything, what's big, what's small, what's successful, what's not successful, all of this is imposed upon us. Even the very character that we have, even our personality, is not something that we create consciously. It's something that our parents and school teachers design. Oh, this is what an obedient boy should be. This is what a nice boy should be. You're being a bad boy. You're not being a nice boy, right? We have a whole framework. When you go to a school, you get a rule book. These are the do's and these are the don'ts. And if you do things that you shouldn't do, you will be punished. So you are conditioned and shaped into this individual, and you are told that it's all for your benefit. But at the end, when you do become this individual, the obedient guy, right? They always say obedience is valued in school, right? You got to be obedient. You got to listen and you got to follow instructions. But the moment you become into that person, you actually become available to other forces to exploit you. For example, in the form of job, you know, your time is exploited and people tell you what to do, and because you're conditioned, you just start following what they say. So it's really a process and a procedure to diminish a person's value and to destroy a person's potential. The whole process of upbringing, right from the school to everything that is done to the child, destroys their potential. And it's done with good intention. But intention doesn't make any shit. Intention, people can do a lot of harm even with good intention. So maybe the teachers and parents have good intention, but things get fucked up because they provide this set framework of how a person should be, and they impose it on the child, and the child has to carry this burden. And we all have been through this, and we are stuck in our personality matrix, who we think we are. And we have this unconscious mechanism to hold ourselves back. And this is done with fear and doubt. And because everybody is going through the same thing in that environment, everybody is kind of pulling each other down. Unless you break free from that environment, very abruptly you cut the cords and you move into another environment where, you know, people are on a high growth mode, it's very unlikely that any success is going to happen, and it's very unlikely that your potential is going to become real, because you will not even allow yourself to think fully, to think big. Forget about doing big. It's going to be even challenging to think big, because you would doubt yourself and you will suppress those thoughts. So there is a lot inside of you that's suppressed, and that's what we are referring to as your potential. Whatever is suppressed, if it is not suppressed with fear and doubt, if it is allowed to come out, if there is a space, if there is an environment where there is a space where things can open up and show up, you may see something magnificent. And I have had these experiences when I was in seminars, training programs, self-development programs, where they create a space of openness that yes, for the first time in your life, your ideas are going to be heard by someone in a powerful position, and someone who has success actually believes in you and listens to your idea, listens to what you want to do in life, And just in that listening, in that openness, things which are suppressed, that you have not shared with anybody else and even with yourself, start to emerge and start to kind of show up in your mind in the form of images, visions, pictures, and magnificent scenarios about your life that you may have planned on a very deep unconscious level. And those things will start to come up when you allow the space and when you don't judge yourself, when you don't suppress yourself. So how do you do it? You gotta sit down with yourself for a couple of days, and don't be interrupted by anybody. Just don't tell anybody what you're doing. Just take a piece of paper and just start writing things down. What do I want in the area of money? What do I want in the area of relationships, health, happiness, success? Maybe you want fame, cars you want to drive, destinations you want to travel, everything. Make a list of everything. And you want to create a very big vision for your life. And this will actually take a lot of effort. Because when you don't write down, things are kind of lingering in your head somewhere in the form of this big blob of feeling, right? Dissatisfied feeling. But when you push yourself to be specific and write it down, what is it that I really want to accomplish in my life, then you can actually start to write a different story, a different framework for your life that is not actually imposed upon you, it comes from you. And when you start to write these goals down, something magnificent will happen, is that you will be surprised at yourself that, oh, I didn't know that I wanted all of these things, but I secretly dreamed about it. I secretly wanted all of this to happen, but I didn't even allow myself to think that. I didn't even allow myself to even say it to myself. And we lie to ourselves all the time. We suppress ourselves all the time. Imagine, you look at a beautiful woman, or if you're a woman, you look at a beautiful man. How many times you wanted to go say hello and we don't do it? We just suppress ourselves, and it's instantaneous. You see the person you like and boom, you turn the head. That right there was a mechanism of suppression. Similarly, if there are business ideas that you may have, career ideas that you may have, you may be very unconsciously and very quickly suppress it and push it to the side, because in your mind maybe you were told that it cannot happen or it may not happen. So you don't let it come out. We don't want to look stupid, and we want to conform with everybody else. So non-conformity is very key. You gotta not care about what people think of you. You gotta not give a fuck. Even if you wanna cut the cords and let them go, that is fine. But you are not gonna be suppressed. So once you have actually written down, then in order to fulfill the potential, you gotta create a vision, which we talked about. And then what you wanna do is you wanna identify a career where this can happen, this can be fulfilled. And career will take up most of our lives. 8 to 10 hours a day will be dedicated towards a career. So if your career is not aligned with your vision, then how will your potential be ever be fulfilled? Because if your career doesn't allow that possibility for you to shine really bright, then and your career entails you sitting down on a computer and doing Excel sheet or Word, that it is not going to that's not going to fulfill your potential and fulfill all your dreams and visions and goals. And so you once you identify the visions and goals, you must identify the career that can make it happen. And if you have not, it doesn't matter what age you are in, you can still make a career transition and you can still create a bang in your life. And you must cut these individuals out of your life in order to fulfill this. Once you are in that career, you got to create a big vision even for your career. And then you got to make the sacrifices and you got to go for it. And you got to cut out all the noises and cut out all the people or out of your life to make this happen. And you got to visualize it, you got to see it, and you got to keep going. One of the things that I experimented with, and I should not have experimented this, but I did experiment, is that, a lot of people say, oh, don't listen to them, let them talk, and don't let it affect you. You keep doing what you want to do, right? A lot of people say that let people talk in your ears, listen to them, but listen from one ear and push it out from another ear. That actually, for me and for a lot of people, does not work. If somebody is saying things to you, and if you against what you're doing, and while you're doing it, those noises are going to be controlling your mind. And what you can do is you can fight against that. You can fight a battle against those noises, and it's actually going to be very draining for you to go through this process of constant fighting, constant arguments. It's better, it's way easier if you just cut those people out, block them. I know they can be your family members. I had to block certain very close individuals in my family to be able to pursue my dreams. And what has happened as a result is the self-doubts are gone, fear is gone, and I act based on based on inspiration, and I allow inspiration to sweep me away and to take me on, and I go with it. But if you have too many people in your environment trying to push you down, your potential can never be fulfilled. And this is, I think, a very fundamental thing that we all must do, is we want to cut people out, we want to write down our goals and our visions, and most people don't do it. It sounds like a very obvious advice, but if you think about it, how many people sit down and write down? There are very few set of individuals who actually write down. And I have come to, I'm yet to find about someone who wrote it down, who actually made the sacrifices and things did not happen. Okay, things almost always happen if you're serious, if you make the sacrifices, if you're ruthless about cutting people off who are not aligned with you. So that when your ship is going in a direction, other people are not trying to pull it down and, drag it down or take it somewhere else. And that's going to be one of the biggest struggles when it comes to fulfilling your potential, because you want to go forward, but people are dragging you back. I don't care if you call them your mother, your father, your brother. If they're suppressing you, you got to get rid of them. Okay? And that's not an easy thing to do. I have done it, but once you do it, it does get easy, and you will see, you will start to flower. So with that, I'll talk to you soon.